I got to confess, I never really thought that Rick Snyder was more than a curiosity. And is it the fact that his campaign was so compelling, or was it the fact that there were that the rest of the Republicans splintered the vote?
Well, I think one of the things that happened, Michael, was that you saw a huge turnout of non-traditional Republican voters coming out into the primary. And, everybody was pretty much talking about a turnout of somewhere between, 650 to 750,000 voters. And it ended up being well over 1 million voters. And most of those new voters to a Republican primary ended up voting for Rick Snyder. So somewhere along the line, Rick had a very compelling case to bring additional voters into a Republican primary.
Is that why you think the numbers, if you look at raw votes, 2-1 people voted in the Republican primary as opposed to the Democratic primary? Do you think that those were Democrats crossing over?
Well, I mean, I've not looked at that. There are some that believe that, but the bottom line is they came in and voted in the Republican primary, and if they were converted Democrats voting in a Republican primary. The challenge now is to make sure that in the general election they vote Republican again. They vote up and down the ticket as a Republican. And, that bodes well for the Republicans this fall if Rick and his team are able to hold those votes in the Republican column. I mean, that would be a great turnaround for this party in our state. And let's hope it's not a one-day love affair between these Democrats and Republicans, that they truly do see that Republicans, by and large, have a much better agenda for bringing the economy back, for getting this state turned around, and for reinventing Michigan. That would be a great election on November 2, if that's what happens.
1 week before the election, you told me that you were ready for the people to decide whatever it was. Either way, you were just ready to get on with it. Did it still? I mean, it must have hurt awfully bad to put all that effort in and get that news on Tuesday night.
Actually, no. It never hurt. Sure, you're disappointed, but it was a great race. We put everything we had into it. We ran a race that, on Tuesday night, when I went to bed, Diane went to bed, my campaign staff went to bed. We felt comfortable with the race that we ran. We had a plan. We beat the plan in terms of number of people involved, the number of contributors, the amount of money that we raised, all of those types of things. We beat our plan. We stayed on message. We ran an honorable campaign. We really don't have any regrets, or we don't need to make any apologies for the tactics that we employed. So we met just so many good people through this process. It was an exciting time. Sure, we were hoping and we were expecting a different outcome. Hey, that didn't happen. That happens in life. Packing up the campaign office yesterday, sure, that was bittersweet.
Yeah.
But hey, we're ready to move on. We are going to transition out with our campaign staff. We will have nothing but fond and good memories about what happened in this campaign, how the work was done, and how we ran a race.
I was thinking about you yesterday, and you talk about boxing up the campaign office. What is that going to be like now in a few months when you box up the congressional office after all these years? It would seem to me that's when it will really hit you.
It will. I'm sure it will. And it hit me already yesterday. As Ken Sikkema told me years ago, he said, Pete, you'll find this in politics when you go from, when you win, you go from who's he to who's who. And when you lose, you go from who's who to who's he. And I felt a little bit of that yesterday. The phone wasn't ringing quite as often. The BlackBerry wasn't going off quite as often. But that trend will continue as we pack up the congressional office in 5 months. But Michael Patrick, as I closed my statement on Tuesday night, Diane and I, we're firm believers. We're convinced God's got a plan for us, and we're excited to find out what that is, because He's got something bigger in mind or better in mind than being governor of Michigan. And we're looking forward to that. And we wish he just would have maybe told us a year ago. It might have made our lives a little bit easier, but it has been a tremendous experience during the last 12 months. We will never regret the time, the energy, the effort that we put in and so many other people put into this campaign.
Who has more egg on their face, Right to Life, the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, or the DeVos family this morning?
Well, I think clearly with what happened, number one, I'm fully convinced that they all work together. Second, the group with the most egg on their face is Right to Life. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should be embarrassed of what the campaign that they ran against those of us that have been pro-life our entire career. Tom, George, Mike Bouchard, and myself. Their brilliant strategy, their absolutely brilliant strategy, resulted in two candidates that at least Right to Life believes are pro-abortion. There were 7 people in the race. 5 of them were pro-life. Only 2 of them, at least by Right to Life standards, were identified as being pro-choice. And Right to Life, after investing, $2-3 million trashing the rest of us and promoting one individual, ended up with the 2, by their definition, the 2 pro-choice candidates being on the ballot. They ran a terrible campaign. Their political strategy was totally flawed, misguided, misdirected, whatever way you want to put it. But I'm sure that they're going to be accountable to their leadership, or their leadership's going to be accountable to their membership to explain how they spent $2-3 million. How come they trashed the members that had been pro-life? I would guess that the leadership of Right to Life is going to have to change if that organization wants to move forward effectively into the future.
Mm-hmm. Have you thought about what you're going to do next? Because there is this perception among people that if you're in Congress, you're living high, you're rich, and that kind of thing. And, you're a young man and a relatively young man, and it's not like you got rich in public service all those years. I mean, what will you do next?
Michael Patrick, right now we have no idea. We're going to, Diane and I are going to take a little bit of time, not off, but obviously we're going to take some time just to think about it and contemplate exactly what we want to do. Spend some time reconnecting with the family. This morning I get to take the garbage out. I haven't done that in months. I've always been gone before the garbage went out. So we'll get to do some of the little things in life again and enjoy those types of things. But we're not going to rush into any major decision as to what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, or those types of things. We've got time to think about that. And Michael Patrick, when we figure it out, we'll let you know.
I hope you will, because we'd like to keep your BlackBerry buzzing and keep you engaged. I understand you're going to be heading back to Washington next week. Sounds like Speaker Pelosi is going to bring everybody back to vote on the jobs bill.
That's exactly right. So we will go back. It's a critical vote, and just like the last year when there's critical votes, we'll be there to do the job.
Will you? I take it from what you said earlier, you're giving your support to Rick Snyder?
Rick and I are going to sit down. He and I talked for a little while yesterday. We're going to talk a little bit about how we can help with his campaign, if he wants my support, how he would like to see me support that effort, or whether he would just, prefer to have me stay on the sidelines and, Pete, you go do your congressional thing. We're going to go do our governor's race. So Rick and I we're going to sit down and we're going to have that discussion. And Rick ran a very, as a marketing guy, I'm impressed by the campaign that he ran. I'm impressed by the campaign staff that he put together. Rick and I treated each other very, very well on the campaign trail. I've got nothing but the highest regards for Rick, the person, and for the campaign that he ran.